we decided to look into the issue of medical negligence, which is the allegation made by the families and friends of the deceased, claiming that medical negligence, which is avoidable, is what led to the death of both ladies, particularly in light of Omolara's death. And now we have on the line Kara, who is the friend of the late Omolara, who narrated the story on Twitter. Hello, Kara.
Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Hello, good morning. I can hear you.
All right, good morning and welcome to the program. So sorry about the loss of your friend. All right, well, if you could try speaking up, as we're struggling to hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, it's improved. It's much improved now. All right, so Kara, let's start this way. To save time, I'm just going to try and walk through your narration of events. It was very detailed, so I'm just going to try and walk through it. And if there's anywhere where I am not saying what you said or I'm misquoting you, then you can, check that. All right?
That's fine.
Okay, so now according to your narration of what went down, the late Omolara's initial diagnosis was peptic ulcer and malaria. And she was given injections and then sent home, which you said you didn't witness, but she made you know. She told you about it. And then when she got home, she began vomiting excessively and had breathing problems. And so you came over to her house and took her to the hospital. After which she was admitted and given some more injections with a device put on her thumb to monitor. You complained because she had complained to you that she was still having breathing problems. And then she was given more injections. The device on her thumb stopped working. And then you went to complain again, at which point Lara lost consciousness. A new doctor came in, a different doctor from the initial doctor who had admitted Lara and seen to her needs. And this new doctor claimed not to know that things were this severe. Right?
Yeah.
And ordered that Lara be placed on oxygen. Now, this is an important part of your story. You say that there was reluctance to get that oxygen.
Yeah.
Okay, now, please, perhaps explain, maybe let's take a break here and explain what you mean by reluctance. You said at some points that you had to go lift the oxygen yourself from the emergency room.
Yes, there was a scene like the new doctor, she came in and then she was talking to the nurses. I did not totally understand what they were saying, but the situation on ground showed that everything was like serious. So I began to get scared, and then she told a nurse to go and get the oxygen, and then the nurse was paranoid that, why did they bring Lara, that's my friend, why did they bring her to the ward upstairs? They should have admitted her at the emergency room or something like that, that she cannot go and get the oxygen. Now, where is Toib? I do not work there. I don't know who Toib is, but I sensed from everything that Toib might be a staff or might be the messenger in that hospital. So she said, where is Toib? She cannot go and get it. She cannot go downstairs. Then I tapped her. I said, let's go. She said, she cannot carry it. She said, okay, let her check. Maybe somebody else on duty can carry it. She's quite of age, I won't lie. So when she got down, I don't think she found anybody, but I kept on just patting about that. Let's go. Okay, tell me where it is. We got to the emergency room. She was like, these are the oxygen. That she does not even know which one is working. That let's try and test it. I said, let me carry it. When we get upstairs, we'll know which one is working. So she was even saying, she cannot carry it. I just bent down and then I carried it. And then she said, I was making steps to go to the ward, I was heading towards the stairs. And then she said, you can't carry it alone. Maybe she just kind of just gave me a hand. Then we were carrying it together. Then one of those other nurses that she talked to that did not even answer us initially, that one just came and said, why am I the one carrying it or something? I was like, let's just carry it, let's go.
Okay.
Somehow along the line on the staircase, they joined me and then they took the oxygen upstairs.
Okay. So at this point, you then said that they began asking about Lara's medical history, despite the fact that her card shows that she has been using that hospital since 2019. Is that correct?
Very correct.
Okay, we're going to touch on that area as well later on. Now, from your narration, you mentioned that when you went to Lara's house to pick her up and take her to the hospital, it was around past 10. And we're fast forwarding now, because you said at 1, the hospital then recommended that she be referred at 1 a.m. in the morning. But they said that there was no ambulance available until morning. So she would have you would have to arrange pickup. At which point you opted to wait because of the time, because it was in the wee hours of the morning. But then you were told that the oxygen she was using at the time would not last up to 3 hours.
No. I wasn't going to wait because it was midnight. I was going to wait for their own ambulance so that, she'll get, the proper care.
Right. Okay.
So they made a phone call. I don't know who was, but I'm just guessing that it's the driver.
I see. Okay. So you chose to wait because you wanted you wanted things to be done properly to give her the best chance she could get.
Yes.
But you were told that the oxygen would not last up to 3 hours and her BP was declared low, at which point you then started sorting out pickup. Now, you also said that you tried to reach out to Lara's workplace. And this is important because, ironically, the late Lara worked at LASEMA as a call representative. Now, LASEMA is the Lagos State Emergency Management Agency. And if I'm not mistaken, it's supposed to be equipped to handle exactly this type of emergency.
Exactly.
Okay. But you said you reached out to her workplace with hopes of getting an ambulance. But then they said they were, and I'm quoting you now, scared that the ambulance would not be able to come over since it is not on their call record.
Yes, that's what they said.
Okay. Now, you then tried to ask the doctor who treated her initially some questions, but he was focusing on the referral letter and he didn't answer. At this point, it was time to take Lara to Lasuth, the hospital she was being referred to. And you had expected that she would be allowed to go with the oxygen, but it was taken away when you were to proceed to Lasuth. Is that correct?
Very correct.
I'm sorry. And this is the tragic end of that story, where Lara was then pronounced dead at Lasuth, meaning she had died on the way.
Yes.
All right. So, where exactly would you say the negligence from the hospital, came into play here? Now that, we have tried to shorten your account of the story that you put up earlier.
There was negligence. I would say from the point of our admission.
Mm-hmm.
Because we just came in. I excused them. Immediately I heard, I'd have to admit you. I excused them. I felt, admitting her obviously should be for the best of our health. Like you just decided to admit somebody. I don't know. I don't know what communication they had. I don't know what conversation they had. Rather, I don't know what she told him. But I don't know. At some point, they said that they were trying to stabilize her till tomorrow, so that she would get some tests done. And I attached, because all along I was only giving feedback to my younger sister. I'm not a very loud person on personal issues. Even while Lara was on the bed, while I get access to her phone, I typed on our group chat, our office group chat, please, if you're on duty, call me. It's very urgent, because I know that they run night shifts. I didn't want to start saying all that long story and everything. I didn't want everybody to start panicking. I was just about solutions. So I would say that the negligence started from the point of our admission. maybe they had in mind that they were going to just stabilize her till the next morning. So actually going after what was actually wrong with her, because when I was complaining, I even made a tweet that I'm sure this nurse hates me already. I didn't even know that anything was going to get worse this way, because I was going from floor to floor. I was disturbing them. Come and check this girl. Come and check this girl. This girl is not okay. Her eyes were half open. This is not Lara. I was going from floor to floor. Oh, come and check this. Then the last injection they gave her, I was told is going to relax her. And Lara was really strong. She was a fighter. She was always saying, oh, what is this? Am I dying? What's happening? Why is everybody surrounding me? Like before she lost consciousness. So they were trying to persuade us to calm down, that this last injection is slow and it's maybe like it's going to make her sleep, that she should calm down, that it's slow, it's going to make her sleep.
Okay. Now, Kara, interestingly, you, according to your Twitter bio, you have a degree in public health. Yes?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Certain areas or certain sections of your story appear to suggest medical negligence, such as the fact that you said there was reluctance to get that oxygen, such as the fact that the hospital in question, according to your narration, appeared not to be knowledgeable about Lara's medical history, when in fact it is routine that when one is admitted and when one is about to be diagnosed, or when the doctor is about to prefer a solution, they should factor in the patient's medical history. And despite the fact that Lara had been using that hospital for about 2 years, the hospital did not seem to be in the know on her medical history, according to your account of events, as well as the ambulance, the lack of ambulance that would take Lara to Lasut, the hospital she was referred to. That also appears from your account to suggest medical negligence. And finally, the fact that the oxygen was taken away. There was barely enough oxygen, and then the oxygen was taken away en route Lasut, where you were headed. All these appear to add up to suggest medical negligence. And interestingly, your story sparked a chain reaction on Twitter, as multiple people in that thread shared their personal experience, claiming they had been medical negligence from their stories with their relatives, themselves, and their friends. Now, we're going to put on the line now. The representatives, or certain, we don't know yet who's on this end, but we got in touch with Beachland Specialist Hospital, Arepo, Ogun State. They are the hospital that you are alleging is guilty of medical negligence. Do I have the name correct? Beachland Specialist Hospital in Arepo, Ogun State.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So now we're going to hear their account of events and establish whether indeed there was medical negligence. Hello, Dr. Olasukomi. Do I have you on the line?
Good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning. All right.
For further correction, Olasukomi is just the public relations officer of the company. But I have with me our chief medical director and 2 doctors who are on duties during the case. They will also tell you the account of the event.
Okay. What do we have first? Let's have the doctors first.
The doctors who attended to the late Omolara.
Yes, they were here sitting.
Okay.
Please introduce yourself.
Please introduce yourself. Let's start with that.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Ademola Imran. I'm a consultant obstetrician and gynecologist and the medical director of Beachland Specialist Hospital.
Okay. All right. So I'm not sure you okay. You are on the line while we were speaking with the friend of the late Omolara, who said she was with her, that night, all through the ordeal from your hospital and when she was eventually referred to Lasut. So is there any of our accounts you would like to dispute? She said a lot about how it took a while to get oxygen, how you told her the oxygen you didn't have enough. And
hello, please. We have not been hearing you. Can you please a little bit raise your voice?
Okay. First of all, we want to ask if you heard the narration by Kara, the friend of the late Omolara, who brought her to the hospital. Did you hear her narration of events?
No, we did not hear the narration of the event. It's only what was on social media.
Okay.
Now, but let me, as my HR has said, the other doctors that attended to her are right here. It's quite unfortunate what happened has happened. It's very unfortunate. They are so rest in peace. Now, but let me put the matter straight. The late Omolara, our visit to the hospital on Wednesday was the third time of our visit to our hospital. The first time of our visit was December 25, 2019. Then she complained of chest pain with difficulty in breathing, which the doctor that attended to her managed her for peptic ulcer and asthma. And she got well, and she got well, and we didn't see her again. Her second visit to the hospital was 9th of April, year 2000, 2020, when she had a painful swelling in her right cheek. She was managed as a case of cellulitis and got better. Wednesday, 5th of May, last week, that was her third visit when she presented in our hospital. I will allow the doctor that attended to her when she came to give his own account before I come in later to express my view.
Okay.
Hello,
We can hear you. Now, just to be clear, before we let Dr. Ademola give you the podium, Dr. Ademola said her first visit, that's the late Omolara's first visit, was on the 25th of December 2019, where she complained of chest pain and difficulty breathing with peptic ulcer. And then the second visit was 9th of April 2020. And the third visit was the one that resulted in her demise was 5th of May, last Wednesday. Do I have that correct?
Yes, you are.
All right, then please introduce yourself.
Hello, good morning. My name is Dr. Ibrahim Rashid. I'm a medical officer at Islam Specialist Hospital, Arepo, Ibadan. Arepo, Lagos, Ibadan. Late Lara, a 28-year-old, presented in our outpatient department on 5th of May 2021, around 6:07 p.m. With a 2-day history of epistatic pain that was due to the chest and back. The pain was said to have begun directly after taking ibuprofen 400 milligram drug. She was a non-septic ulcer disease. There was no issue of cough, no difficulty in breathing, no vomiting, not even hypertensive and diabetic patients. On physical examination, she was not severe, not ill, not dehydrated. No fever and peripheral edema noted. On the examination of the abdomen, there was epigastric tenderness, which impression of peptic ulcer disease was confirmed, alongside with the feature of malaria parasite, and she was managed accordingly with omeprazole and mismatch and anti-malaria. She was treated outpatiently and she left. So she presented back around 10:17 p.m. with difficulty in breathing, chest pain, and SpO2 of 7%. This was another picture with the presentation she presented earlier. Which made us to admit, we admitted her nebulized with salbutamol 10 milligrams per aminophenol. We resuscitated against international oxygen. Then we go further in asking, we study for past medical history, to which made us to ask our friend. Maybe she knew what could have happened. Maybe she took some journey she had. And our friend confirmed that she needs to go to Abuja for a checkup in Abuja. So maybe she would just call her sister in Abuja to confirm who was the cardiologist. So our friend called the sister in Abuja, and the sister in Abuja confirmed that she needs to go for follow-up treatment on account of chest pain. That was, and then we continue our resuscitation. But we need, because of the presentation and the recording building, we have to look for this fully be septic ulcer disease. Septic ulcer disease is not present this way. And that was what made us to make a referral for more evaluation and management, expert management. And she was referred to last week.
Okay. In our account, she said there were 2 doctors, and you did say that there are 2 doctors with you. So can we have the account of the second doctor too before we proceed with some more questions?
Okay, good morning. My name is Dr. Olamide Bando.
Okay, please go on with your account.
So, a patient was brought to Omolara at around 11 p.m. She was looking to be sick. So fortunately, we had an oxygen concentration on that same floor. Lara was on the second floor. So we started our oxygen therapy while we told the nurses to go bring the oxygen tank from the emergency that was the ground floor. First off, Lara's friend didn't have an idea of where the emergency was. There's no way a lady can carry the oxygen tank herself from the ground floor to the second floor. So I had to tell 2 nurses to go carry the tank from the emergency floor to the second floor. That's 2 floors. So we started on oxygen concentrator already. That one was on that floor already. So Lara was on oxygen therapy. So I started asking the friend question. After she had been staying with her for a very long while. I said, no, that she just came there that night. She met her this week and she brought her that night. Okay, I said, okay. Do you know anyone that had a good issue about her? Then the friend mentioned that yes, that she remembers when Lara goes to see a cardiologist in National Hospital Abuja. So I said, fantastic. Do you know any family in Abuja? I said, yes, her sister was in Abuja. Please put us the call. Let us talk to her. So we spoke with the sister. While Lara was still on oxygen therapy, we started giving some drugs to be able to make her get better. So the sister spoke with us and she said she had no idea of what medical condition, but she knew that Lara was coming to see a cardiologist. But for which medical condition, she didn't know. So we started on oxygen therapy, and at that point, we already counseled the friend that Lara will need a specialist evaluation in Lapus, and that she needs to get somebody to move her from our hospital to Lapus as soon as possible. So at that point, the friend was looking for transport from our hospital here to Lapus. We took about 2 hours, 30 minutes, which because she had to call people from my hospital and neighbors and home. So, right? So yeah, because and I thought the friend actually asked about our ambulance service. I told her that our ambulance service doesn't work 24 hours. So that was when she started calling people to come and try and transfer Lara from hospital. So at this point, she was given a referral letter to Lapus and the oxygen, yes. So we because when we carried Lara from the second floor to down floor, we carried her with the oxygen. The guy backed her, and the oxygen was still in the nasal friend was in her nursery. On getting to the car, we noticed that the oxygen tank had gotten emptied already. So we had to discontinue. them. We told the oxygen had already gotten exhausted, and we urged them to move faster.
All right. So can we speak with the CMD now?
Yes, the MD then.
All right.
Yes.
So I would like to ask you, really, what is standard practice when you are taking in, a patient? Is it enough that you just treat whatever the patient comes in with, or do you have to, do an exhaustive finding of everything as regards medical history? Because all of the accounts now is about the fact that she has been seeing a cardiologist and she has been to your hospital. That was the 3rd time, like you said, and it never appeared in our history with you. So what really is a standard practice in this case?
Sorry, I didn't get that question well, please.
Okay, what I said, can you hear me clearly now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What I said is, what is standard practice, when it comes to administering patient or accepting patient? Do you just treat whatever, the patient comes in with, or do you do an exhaustive finding of all of the medical history of that patient, especially for someone that has been to your hospital more than once? It took a call to her sister to find out that she probably has, some heart complications before now. So what is standard practice?
Okay. The standard practice, when the patient walks in to see a doctor, we take history. The presenting complaint, what does the patient present with? And you ask questions around the presenting complaint. Why asking questions around the presenting complaint? You can go into the past medical history and you examine. By the time the doctor take history from the patient and you examine, 90% of time you can tell what you are dealing with. And in this case, the presenting complaint was chest pain, epigastric pain, which relates to the back. There was issue of the patient taking ibuprofen prior to coming. And ibuprofen is known to worsen ulcer. So all this, we suggest to the doctor that the ulcer must have been aggravated by the ibuprofen that the patient took. And when he examined, there was actually tenderness in the epigastric area, which is also in keeping with peptic ulcer. And because the patient was not in distress at that time, that was why he was treated as outpatient and was given the anti-ulcer drugs, anti-malaria drugs, and discharged, and he went home.
This treatment you are talking about, are you talking about our last visit or, the very first? Because what I'm trying to ask, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Doctor?
Yes.
I'm saying this treatment you just, outlined, are you talking about last visit on 5th of May or the very first one? Because what I'm trying to ask is, at the point of our first visit to the hospital, should it not have come up in our medical history that, she has...
I was responding to your call, to your question, sir.
Okay.
On the 5th of May, she came in the evening around 7. And what she complained of is what I was telling you. She complained of chest pain, epigastric pain, and there was issue of she taking ibuprofen tablets before coming. And we all know that ibuprofen will worsen peptic ulcer. And when the doctor examined, there was tenderness in the epigastric region, which further confirmed to him that he was dealing with peptic ulcer. And because the patient was not in any obvious distress, that was why she was treated as outpatient. And she took her drug and went home.
So you have still hold on, doctor. You have still not, you have still not answered, what I'm asking. What I'm asking is, the very first time she came, and she presented with peptic ulcer, did the conversation with the doctor that attended to her at that point, taking her medical history as, a first-time patient at your hospital, did it cover that, complications, which, she was seeing a specialist for in the National Hospital, Abuja, or is standard practice that you only treat or deal with whatever the patient is presenting with at a particular time?
Yes, he asked for the past history, but she only told him of ulcer, that is a known ulcer patient, and that's what she's being treated for. She did not volunteer that history that she's being treated. We are also seeing the cardiologist at National Hospital.
Omolara is late, so we can't get her count of events. You say that you asked her that information, but she didn't volunteer it. But seeing as she's late, we can't ask indeed if, the subject did come up. Okay, so I want to establish if there are discrepancies between the account of the two doctors who attended to Omolara and that of Kara, who observed everything, or who was a participant in the whole thing. Now, certain aspects of what she said is what is her grounds for alleging medical negligence, such as the fact that she says there was no ambulance present in the hospital at 1 a.m. Is that correct?
There was an ambulance, but they couldn't reach out to the driver at that time because he wasn't staying within the facility.
So as a specialist hospital, you're saying that the driver of the ambulance was unreachable at that time for the patient to be transferred to LASUTH?
We are a private hospital and we have our limitations. Yes, it's unfortunate we do not have this kind of challenges, but remember, we are a private hospital and we have our limitations.
So another question I would like to ask again is still about standard practices. If you're referring a patient, either, through your ambulance or through, a private arrangement, as is the case here, what is standard practice? If the patient is on oxygen, before you refer her, what is standard practice? Are you supposed to, take your oxygen back, or are you supposed to, at least maybe a nurse accompanying, the vehicle or what have you? So what is standard practice, and what did your hospital do in this regard, CMD?
Oxygen was not taken back from the patient. If you listen to the account,
she said it finished.
Yes.
And that was the only available cylinder in the hospital.
That was the last cylinder that was available.
Okay.
That was the last cylinder that was available. Because she was placed on it right from, and because it took a while for the arrangement to be made for her to be conveyed to LASUTH, that was what really led to the exhaustion of the oxygen. Otherwise, she has been on oxygen, and you cannot use oxygen concentrator because this thing. And the whole thing was so dramatic. Because we are talking about 3 hours. It was not as if she has been in the hospital for the whole day. And we all know, people who are medically inclined, we know that ulcer will not give this kind of difficulty in breathing that this patient presented with. Ulcer, many people have peptic ulcer. They have been managing. The only thing that could have caused this is myocardial infarction or pulmonary embolism. Those are the two conditions that do not give one time to act.
So,
and that was why.
Go on.
Yes, that was why the doctors, because they knew that the presentation was no longer an ulcer case, and when they got that information that she's been seeing cardiologists at the National Hospital. So that let them know that look, they are dealing with cardiac problems.
So again,
and if you listen to the narrative of the friend too, that at that 10 p.m. she met her friend vomiting, sweating profusely, and having difficulty in breathing. It's only cardiac condition that gives that kind of.
Having established that now, so. There was no tank of oxygen. You mentioned that, but then you mentioned that that was the last tank of oxygen in the hospital at that time.
Yes.
So if there was oxygen, and then maybe a nurse or maybe a doctor had accompanied them, do you think the case would have been different? Would we have a different outcome to this?
Well, it's not impossible, but looking at the rate, the progression, only God knows what could have happened. Because it is obvious that it's not a peptic ulcer case. It is obvious that there is more to it. Because peptic ulcer will not give difficulty in breathing like the way she presented.
But could these conditions, could it have, maybe at least kept her alive till she got to LASUS? That was the point of the referral, I believe, to ensure that, she sees a specialist.
She wasn't getting better. She wasn't, just like I told you, all these things we are talking about is within 3 hours.
Okay.
All these things within 3 hours, she wasn't getting better. The difficulty in breathing persisted despite the fact that she was on oxygen. So it's not as if she was kept in the hospital for days.
Yes, but
all these things within 3 hours.
CMD, we know that with medical emergencies, time is of the essence, yes? And every minute, every second counts. Isn't that so?
Yes.
And once she came back to the hospital, after the initial admittance, once she came back to the hospital, she was already vomiting excessively, sweating profusely, and had breathing problems. And as you've emphatically stressed, peptic ulcer does not cause difficulty breathing. So shouldn't there have been red flags at that point? Shouldn't that have sounded alarm bells at that point to expeditiously deal with that emergency? Because her friend, Kara, says that she complained severally. And it wasn't until a new doctor, the female doctor who spoke with us, it wasn't until she came in that she said she realized that the situation was this severe. So at the point she came back, please hold on. At the point she came back, we were trying to establish a timeline of events, but Kara went to her friend's house at 10:10. So she must have gotten to the hospital, say 11-ish. So at the time she came back at that 11-ish, and she had complained that she was vomiting excessively and had breathing problems, which is not associated with peptic ulcer. Shouldn't there have been urgent action taken at that moment?
That was when she was, as soon as the doctor realized with her second visit that she was having difficulty in breathing, that was when they nebulized, they placed on oxygen concentrator, they nebulized her, they gave aminophylline, they gave hydrocort. It wasn't no longer being treated as an ulcer, it was being treated to get better.
Okay.
The nebulized, this doesn't know what it means to nebulize. The aminophylline they gave to try and make their breathing better, she doesn't know about that.
All right. Thank you very much, CMD. We appreciate that you. Yes, we appreciate that you give us your account of events, but we're out of time, and so we're going to have to let you go.
Well, okay. I thank you for giving us the opportunity to hear from us. But it will be important for the patient to have an autopsy done. Autopsy is the only thing, and is very, very important.
All right.
Autopsy is the only thing that can give a clear account of the cause of death. Please, I want this to be done that, everybody can be vindicated and can hold them for me.
All right. Thank you very much, CMD. We do appreciate you. When we reached out, I told Lola, I said, I'm not sure if the hospital will want to come out, but thank you for coming out to tell your story.
Do we still have Kara on the line?
Yes, we have Kara on the line. Kara, I know you were trying to butt in at some point, but, we are really trying to establish the two accounts, to put them side by side, but we do have to go now. We appreciate you, and we say, our condolences to you on the loss of your friend. And is there anything, is the family considering any sort of action?
Like an autopsy, as the doctor has said?
Well, we are currently running a case, and that's it. That's all I can say for now.
All right.
All right. Thank you very much. And once again, condolences on your loss. It is important that I explain that medical negligence is actually defined as the failure on the part of a medical practitioner to exercise a reasonable degree of skill and care in the treatment of a patient, such that if a doctor treats a patient in a negligent manner, causing harm or worsening the existing health condition, the patient can bring an action on that. Well, we'll leave it up to you to decide what happened. You heard both accounts.
Eddie wants to say something.
Just 1 second. I think the family, if the family is not satisfied, they can appeal to the disciplinary committee of the the Medical Association of Nigeria,
Medical and Dental.
Yes, they have a fantastic disciplinary committee, and if the hospital is found guilty and the medical doctors, they will be punished for it.
Wait, I do feel guilty that we can't read the text messages we have.
But we have to.